What's going on? So I'm on the commute to the work, to the job. It's a Saturday morning vibe. Stole that from Twitter. That's like a trending topic, like every day. The vibe of that day. So Monday vibe, Monday motion, Tuesday vibe, all the way to Saturday vibe. I like that. A lot to talk about today on this commute. I'm in the truck, so it might be a little bit noisy. The truck is just, it's you know your car, when you own your car, you go through the seasons. Kiki of 05 is in the building. What up, Kiki? Morning. You know when you go through that season with your car, especially when you own a car, so it's got age on it, you're not paying nobody. You get that season where like everything starts to go wrong with it. So my truck is going through that midlife crisis right now. Oh shit, left the song, turn that off. My truck is going through that midlife crisis, so a lot of work I gotta do on the truck. So if you hear any noises or anything like that, just ignore it. Just know I'm in a big rolly truck that makes a lot of noise, and I got some work I gotta put in on it. Aki's in the building. What up, Aki? So a lot I want to talk about. I want to kind of recap what we've been through. Yeah, Kiki's just got her car out the shop, so she knows what I'm going through. You know, it's an ongoing thing because it's like a older luxury truck. Like I don't front. I'm not gonna front like my luxury truck is new. This thing like 13 years old, but it looks great. It's a QX56 Infinity. You might want to look it up. You can see what I'm working with. So it still looks modern, still looks good, but it's an old truck. It's 13 years old, and so it's like everything is kind of like at end of life, end of cycle. So every 2 months something new has to be fixed on it. But I own it, so it's like I don't have to deal with paying somebody every single month, and I just source parts and then go to the Dominicans and stuff like that and get them to fix it at a discount, which is cool. And that's how we keep it moving. But there's a lot I want to talk about on this commute. There's a lot that's been going on. When you guys see me talk about a topic, it's usually because I'm trying, other than just informing you of what's new to me. You see me stick on a topic like Maya Ponsetto, giving you updates on everything. But if you're paying attention, you also notice that not only am I updating you on what she said or what she did or who she is. Safi R is in the building. What up, Safi? I'm also updating you on my thoughts, my inner feelings, what I've been pondering on the topic. What can we take away from this person's situation? So this situation with Jessica Beauvais is one of those situations for me. Also like the Makai Bryant situation, one of those situations for me, trying to figure out what's the inner meaning of this. What can we learn from it? How can we grow as Americans in a larger sense, and as a people in a smaller sense when we're talking about African Americans at large? And this Jessica Beauvais situation, to me, is one of those situations where I think we could learn a lot from. It's one of those situations like when we see racism in policing, you can identify it and then you can learn from it. You can say that is an example of racism or implicit bias or institutional structural racism. Like that's an example of it. Look. It's like it has a big sign on it. It's like, look at me, do something about it. Well, this Jessica Beauvais situation to me is one of those situations where you can also come to that conclusion. You could come to that same conclusion. You can say, okay, what can we learn from this, and what is this an example of? And as I said in my previous video, this is an example of when people, decent people, now I'm not saying she's a decent person, I don't know her, but I'll tell you what, I listened to her entire 2-hour podcast. When I made my other videos, I only listened to the snippets that were available on the internet. But I actually went and listened to the entire 2-hour podcast from Jessica Beauvais. And I have to say, she's an intelligent woman. She's a very intelligent person, and she's also very insightful. The problem is that she's ignorant. Now, you could be intelligent and still be an ignorant person. Because ignorant people are usually ignorant because they have a lack of facts. So if you don't have the proper data to back up what you feel and what you're saying, you may come across as intelligent. You may very well be intelligent. The solutions you may come up with for the issue that you think exists that may not necessarily exist as much as you think it exists will be interesting, will be profound. And that's the situation with this young woman. Listen to the whole podcast. It's rife with ignorant statements, her propensity for liking violence. I think a lot of that is manifested from her surroundings. Her view on how to handle police brutality cases and at large the violence that we find in the black community. I'll give you an example. Is it something that is possible that would happen? No, but that's not the point. When you start thinking outside of the box, that's when you finally get solutions. So not every thought that you make is going to be something that's practical, but the fact that you're thinking is notable in itself. So we give her credit for that. So let me give you the example I said I was going to give you. She said to stem violence in the black community, whether it be for police brutality or for black on black crime, black people should consider getting life insurance. Think about that. She said if the life insurance companies now have to pay out large sums for African Americans, they will then get into the fight of trying to stem the violence in the black community and also in turn violence from any other sectors, whether it be police brutality, etc. Very interesting, very profound thought. I like that. I don't even know why I have not even thought about that myself. Very interesting information, or rather theory, or not even theory, but just idea rather, that this young lady was thinking about. She went into great detail into it and spoke about it, and I thought that it was cool, it was profound. But the problem that she has is that she grew up in an environment, and this is from her own stories of telling who she is, that she allowed to define her. So you got moments of intellect like that, where she's actually thinking through this situation and coming up with really good ideas on how to solve it, where now she has to feel like she has to play to the streets. Where she's talking about violence against her own kid. You know, if he don't listen to me, he's taller than me, I'll punch him in his face, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And it's like, whoa, sister, what's going on? And I think I see that a lot from my experience growing up in the city, in the hood. A lot from women. And now I'm not going to disparage women. It's not one of those shows. I love my sisters. But hear me out. Hear me out for a second. I grew up observing a lot of women that acted like Jessica Beauvais. Intelligent women who had the power and the knowledge to be the leaders of tomorrow, but they allowed that hood life to suck them up. What do I mean by that? See, guys, when we talk about violence, that testosterone, our propensity for violence, humbles us to it. And that we know you can get into a fight, you can get hurt. Your words have meanings. They have consequences, they have actions. But a lot of women, most women are not built for that. They're not programmed to use violence. Thank God. That's why this world probably is not over yet, because we have women that bring a different approach to issues, more of a problem-solving situation than going to violence. Notice we have men running this country, men running the world. What do we do all the time? We go to war. We are and we pillage in these third world countries. You see that happening. Drug cartels. How many drug cartels is run by a woman? How many mobs are run by a woman? So women approach things differently. But when you're surrounded by that culture of violence and you accept it, what I notice from women is that guys will take action. They'll shoot, they'll stab, they'll fight. Women will talk. They'll say things like, yo, I don't care. I walk around with a knife. I don't care. Like, that's what she said. You're a mother of a 13-year-old son. Who are you stabbing? Who are you stabbing? I don't care, all these haters, da-da-da-da. Who are you going to stab? Why would you want to? I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody's trying to rob you or harm you or murder you, yeah, go ahead, do what you got to do. That's called self-defense. That's lawful. But she's talking like a thug, and she's a mother of a 13-year-old son. She's talking about not valuing police officers' lives. Listen to that. This is a mother. And she's talking about, we don't care about your mother. We don't care about your wife. We don't care about your children. We don't care about you, your roaches, your vermin, your pests. You need to be sprayed with roach spray, meaning exterminated. This is a mother talking like that. But does she really mean it? And I have faith in women. I think you guys are the glue, if women are watching this show, you're the glue that keeps this society together. I don't think she really meant it. So this becomes a situation where it's somebody who's talking smack, who can't back it up, or is unwilling. Anybody can back it up, who's unwilling to back it up. And then an unfortunate circumstance happens where this person actually ends up materializing their words in reality and taking somebody's life. And it's sad because generations are destroyed, as I said in my other video, due to this unfortunate circumstance. Her son, who loves his mom, I mean, I'm a son. Boys love their moms, man. Her son, he lost his moms. She's gonna be in prison. And this little boy and this little girl who belonged to Officer Sackos, they lost their dad. Gone. I mean, she was going so fast, guys. She literally disintegrated that human being. His limbs flew off, guys. His limbs flew off. You can see the video on the internet. You can see the officers picking up his boots that had part of his leg in there and putting it in a bag, in a brown paper bag. That human being is reduced to a brown paper bag. And then she kept going. And then when the cops finally kind of cornered her in, she starts ramming cops. There's cops out of the car that's trying to get ready to pull her out the car. And she hits one cop in the car with the car, but he doesn't get hurt. You know, it's kind of like one of those close quarters grazes. And she backs up into a police car and then move forward into a police car. And then finally they get her out, and they don't hurt her. They don't punch her. They don't slap her. They don't slam her to the ground. They arrest her without incident. They treat her with dignity. Very, very sad situation where there's no winner. But what really confounded me, because a lot of that's just me rehashing what I've said in the past, is the reaction by a lot of African Americans on the internet. And a lot of those reactions are inhuman. It's just inhumane, like, towards this person. You know, like, they're out there saying, who cares about this guy? And, you know, I support the sister, and I'm gonna support her GoFundMe, and all these different stuff. And it's like, hold on here, guys. Hold on here. If this woman said that she was a freedom fighter and a terrorist, because if you do something like that, you're a terrorist, regardless of what your motivations are. And she killed this officer, I would understand. I would not agree with it under any circumstances. But I would understand why some people would say, well, I want to pay her GoFundMe or whatever. The reason why I understand that is because it's politically motivated, and if you agree with that political motivation, I get it. But this woman was a drunk driver, and we know from her own words that she did not agree with what happened. She said she was sorry. And the thing with drunk drivers is that they can kill anyone. So if it wasn't Officer Sackos that she killed, it would have been somebody else. It would have been possibly your family member, your loved one, your friend, your buddy that you went to college with or high school with. So how do you support this young woman who's method of murder was not politically motivated, even though she made political statements right before she killed the dude. Her method of murder was simply her being an irresponsible individual and driving drunk, drinking and driving. So how low have we sunken that we now support drunk drivers? How do you explain that? Whether you agree with Jessica Beauvais' point of view or not, it has nothing to do with what she did to Officer Sakos that night, because she has said, I'm sorry. She does not own up to it. She did not say, I did it because I hate cops. Maybe subconsciously she didn't care about the fact he was in the road because she had such strong feelings against Caucasian police officers or police officers in general. But now that she's sober, right after the fact, she said, I'm sorry. She said, I didn't mean to kill him. So basically, and the police believe that she was just a drunk driver. The police do not believe that she did it because she hated cops. Their investigation is saying she did it because she's a drunk driver. So why would we support a drunk driver, knowing culturally how damaging the actions of drunk drivers are to all of us as a society? How many black families have been destroyed because of drunk drivers? How many families in general, regardless of the race, have been destroyed because of drunk drivers? Yet you have so many people on YouTube who would say, I support her. I feel sorry for her. I'm going to give to her GoFundMe, to her legal fund. It's a little confusing to me. It's very confusing to me. I've been pondering on this for a long time. Very long time. And I've been going on this journey with you guys. And I've been letting you guys hear my thoughts and listening to your feedback. I've been saying it for a while. Yes, I agree. There's racial inequality in this country. There's racism in this country. Police needs to be reformed. There's a lot that we do that we should not do. We've been going on this journey. You guys know my opinions. You guys know how I feel about these things. And I've been trying to find out what is the solution to these issues. And I still don't have the dossier, the blueprint, the roadmap. I don't have it all worked out. But one thing that I know is that we cannot approach this by being divisive. We cannot approach healing this country, changing the culture of this country, changing the culture in police departments by shaming the people that we need in order to help us reach our conclusion. The solution. This country is steeped in tradition of loving law enforcement and loving the military. How are we supposed to galvanize the people that are going to help us make change if we're telling them their sons and their daughters are evil inherently just because they put on a uniform? Why don't we try a different approach? Why don't our approach be a two-pronged approach? Black people themselves saying, let's try and reach out to our local police departments, as well as demanding that police departments reach out to us. Demanding police departments change their culture. Voting in politicians that are willing to embark on that change and deliver their promises. But at the same time, changing the culture of saying FTP. What will motivate people in uniform and in management positions, leadership positions, to make change and to change cultures when at the same time we're saying, let's change things, but we still want to isolate you? I want you to change, but I'm going to still treat you like the enemy. Why is it so hard to admit that although our policing in America has issues, we cannot survive without police? The change that these activists are asking for will take generations. That change will literally take generations. The change that these activists are asking for, I can't speak today. It will literally take 50 to 100 years. They're like, well, how you know that's strategic? What the hell are you talking about? What do you know? You're not a sociologist. You're not even a psychologist. You don't know nothing about people. You're just a stupid cop. Let's really think about it, people. Let's literally think about it. We're asking people to stop being violent with each other. We're asking people to work as communities to solve generational problems. You understand that there are young men out there who are part of gangs. And one of the reasons why they're part of gangs is because their families have been a part of those gangs for generations. Their dad is a part of the Bloods. Their mom was a Bloodette. All they know is gang life. Then their mom and their dad got arrested, and those same gangs now accepted them into their ranks to become the mom and dad of them who were incarcerated. You're asking people to change generational behavior on their own. You're saying that you want a policeless society. That's one end of the spectrum. I'm not going to be one of those folks who only talk about one end. It's a multi-pronged movement where people have different ideologies on what change is. Some people saying no police at all. Some people saying still have police, but reimagining what the police actually do and what they respond to. Either way, regardless of how you look at it, whether you're looking at it on a more moderate side or you're looking at it on the extreme side, you're still asking individual people to step up and do more for themselves and more for their community. And it's going to take generations to teach people how to do that and to change hearts and minds. It's not going to happen overnight. How are you going to do that when you're teaching people to hate police? When we really should be working together. I just find that really profound. That this young woman would spill that hate. Just talk that hate. And then the universe would manifest that hate just moments later. And it's a lesson for us all. Watch what you say. Why you guys think that sometimes I get passionate and I may go crazy on a topic, and maybe I might say something mean to somebody who's involved in a situation, and then I come back another video and I say, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. I should have respected that person's dignity. Why? Because you don't know how, when, or if you might find yourself or somebody you love in that same situation. That's why you gotta have respect for other people. And if you can have respect for other people, you have respect for yourself. You got this mother of a 13-year-old boy talking about how she like fighting. There's something about the punching. I can't smack my hands together like she's doing because like, oh, I got a phone in my hand. The physical contact that just make me excited. What? What are you talking about? You're a mother. You're 32 years old. You're in the end game age. I'm there with you. We're both in the end game. Our 30s, man. All that stuff's supposed to stop. That's retarded. That's little kid stuff. You got this lady talking about liking to fight. Liking to feel the physical contact. Make her feel alive. And moments later, look what you do. Moments later, you kill a man. Moments later, you end your own life. And you're sorry. And I believe her. I think she's genuine. I was emotional because, this one hit close to home. I had to go out there and salute his casket, leaving the morgue. And then I got to go to his funeral on Tuesday. This one hit close. I work in New York. When a law enforcement officer dies in New York, people from law enforcement from all over New York go and support that and show that support. I was there, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. It hit close to home. I didn't get to see his family when he left the morgue, but I'm going to see his family. I'm going to see his children his wife on Tuesday. And I don't like funerals because it make me think about the people I've lost. I got to live through that. That affects me now. Small world, right? Small world. When you hurt somebody, it doesn't just affect you and that person you hurt. It affects generations. Remember that saying, the 6 degrees of separation? We all connected, man. We all connected. We all connected. We all connected. You know, when I was growing up, I used to know this kid who, you know, he's doing good now, but he was a very selfish individual. He's also a drug dealer. And I was young. I was real young, you know. And, you know, I'd hang out with him, play video games with him, and all that stuff. But there's a lot about his character, a lot of things he did as a friend that was not nice. And now that I'm older and I'm adult, I think back on those things and I say, wow, this guy was, it's almost like he was befriended with the devil. I'm sorry, no disrespect if he watches this. Now this guy is doing pretty good now. He's got a good, you know, city job and all that stuff. He's making good money. I think he might be making more money than me. Because he's like a supervisor and he rose through the ranks and all that stuff. And God bless him, right? But he was a bad person when I knew him. And he did bad things to me. So, and he's supposed to be my friend. So I'm minding my business, and my wife calls me up, and she's like, yo, I know somebody you know. I'm like, what? Who you know? And then she begins to tell me how her friend, now mind you, my wife is like, not from the city. She's from the suburbs. Where we at now? She should not know nobody that I know. She says her friend is dating a guy who says he knows me. I'm like, word? Who? And then they tell me the name. And then he like left a voice message for me to forward to her, like, yo, what up, kid? Da-da-da-da-da. How everything doing? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Because, you know, the bad folks, he's probably not a bad person right now, man. I'm sure he's doing his thing. We were kids. You can't judge people for what they did when they were children, right? But he's not going to see things through the lens of the way I see it, right? And so he's like talking, like, you know, saying hi and everything, like he want to reconnect. And I told my wife, I said, yo, I don't know how you going to say it. Just be kind and say, oh, he said what up and everything, but do not give my information to this dude. I do not want to be in contact with him. And the reason why I tell you this story is because look how we can still find each other through other people. You can't leave your past behind. It all follows you in this world. 6 degrees of separation. This girl gets in her car drunk and kills a person. People keep talking about the fact that he's a cop. No, she killed a person. And now Strategiceyes got to go to his funeral. I got to go to his funeral. I have to see his family cry, his kids cry, his wife cry, his colleagues cry. I gotta see that, and I gotta cry. I gotta cry. Because it could be me. I'm on those highways sometimes. I'm doing traffic stops. I'm stopping people with expired registrations. Why? Not because I want to ruin their day, because it's my job. Because if I don't pull you over because you ran the red light, then nobody will stop for red lights, and one day somebody will hit a pedestrian. Shoot, people hit pedestrians when they stop for red lights. Because there's an order to society. That's why they weed out people and select people that think like me. We believe in order. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and all the other different races and ethnicities that exist in this beautiful country. Specific people like order. We like to say, you put this first, then you put that, then you put that. That is a personality of a police officer. So for you, you might say, well, why would you stop somebody for a expired tag. For us, we say, because that's the law. That's how it's supposed to be. For you, would say, well, why would you stop somebody for having something on their rearview mirror? For me, I'd say, I wouldn't do it. I have never done it. But I can understand why some guys do it, because it's an investigative tool. The windows are blacked out on that car. The windows are slightly down, not that you can see in, and you see smoke coming out. It smells like marijuana, and you know from your experience that a lot of cars like that tend to have guns in it. Now I'm telling you what officers think, so you don't have to agree with me, but this is knowledge so you can understand how they think. So you say to yourself, how can I get in that car to see if there's anything else nefarious going on? Well, you know what? I'm going to use that. It's still the law. If you don't like it, get your politicians to change the law. It works. Activists have said that bail is racist for decades. Guess what? It kind of was. I say was because it's changed in my state. It kind of was. You go steal something worth $1,000, they'll hit you with a felony, and they'll give you $5,000 bail. If you're poor, you can't afford it. You stay in jail. If you're middle class or rich, or even upper poor, you could afford the bond for that. So you get to walk the streets. How's it fair that somebody's poor has to stay in jail and somebody who's anything other than poor gets to go out and fight their case from the streets? So bail reform was good. That it says, well, if this is a crime that you could bond out for and it's not violent, everybody should be able to get out. I agree with that. The problem is when you go to the extreme, which is what we've seen with a lot of these bail reforms, where people can keep doing repeated crimes and keep getting out, and there's no incentive for them to stop. I don't know, guys. I feel lost sometimes. Like, I don't know. It's like common sense is not common anymore. Do me a favor, you watching the show, hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. Even if you don't agree with everything I'm saying, at least I have the courage to come on here and tell you my point of view. And we could talk about it. You know, and we could debate it. Because this is not one of those shows where it's my way or the highway. And I can't see no comments. You know what? The comments were hidden. Otherwise, I'd have been responding to some of you guys. So if you said something, you asked a question, and I didn't respond, it's because I couldn't see the comments. The comments were hidden. But this is not one of those shows where it's my way or the highway. We're here to learn from each other. You could disagree with me and say, yo, I totally disagree with you. This is the reason why, Strategic. I don't agree. I think cops do this. I think cops do that. Or I think racists do this. Da-da-da-da. And we can debate it. I've changed my mind so many times on this show already. So many times. There's so many times I've said, I don't think that this is wrong. And somebody has said, you know what? You're wrong, and this is the facts. And I said, yo, you were 100% right. You were 100% right. And then I come on and make a video and tell the world how I was wrong and you was right. I don't have it all figured out, man. I do not have it all figured out. So a couple updates, guys. I'm almost to my destination, but I think I'm gonna stay on the live when I just gotta drop off some plaster. I drop off some plaster, and then I gotta head back to work. I'm super early, so I have time or whatever. So some updates. So in this Andrew Brown situation, I think it was Virginia or something like that. I haven't had time to do a deep dive. I did a deep dive at first, gave you guys the initial information and my initial thoughts on the matter, that it looked like it was a cover-up with the way that the police, the sheriff's department rather, was not releasing the body-worn camera video. They only showed 20 seconds. What is 20 seconds going to show you? Well, recent updates is that a judge decided that he did not want the body-worn camera information to be released. So that's big. That's big. Another thing is that district attorneys in that area have reviewed the body-worn camera, and what they're saying is that Andrew Brown actually hit, I think, 2 or 3 officers with his car. So we're at one of those areas again that we often find ourselves in when it comes to these shootings, where we as the people need the proof. We can't trust no side because both sides are telling us something different. The family's telling us that he was executed and, you know, he was just trying to drive away. He didn't do anything wrong and the police killed him. That's what the family's telling us. And at the same time, the attorneys are telling us that, or the district attorney, who's the one who would have to prosecute the cops, the DA is telling us that he tried to ram police officers. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm moving around. Gotta get stuff. Kind of gonna do this live while I'm also doing this drop off. I don't know who to believe. I could not tell you who to believe. I don't know. I don't know. I want to see the video. I want to make that determination for myself. Understand though that a lot of these down south towns, down south police departments and states, they allow you to shoot at somebody who is ramming you with their car. You know, a lot of other agencies don't allow you to do that. It's going to be bright. I'm outside. A lot of agencies don't allow you to do that, but a lot of those down south agencies do, and they have it in their state law. So keep that in mind, man. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's unfortunate, man. It's really unfortunate. So how you guys doing out there? Let's see if I could get these chats to show. I'm trying to get the chat to show. Where's the chat? I gotta go to this. It says live chat. All right, cool. All right, so let me scroll up for a little bit and see if I can like catch up with you guys. Unbelievable in here. All right. Okay. Perfect. All right. Drop this stuff off and then make my move. So let's see what's happening in chats. What we got going on here? I'm going all the way back because I think you guys probably said some really awesome things that I missed out on. Erica Pierre's in the building. What up? Agro Vixen's in the building. Aki said we need a woman for president. We do. I think women are awesome. You know, it's like they are the glue that keeps this country, that keeps everything together. Agriculture says there's a lot of crazy Karens everywhere now. That's true. We got a lot of really wacky people out here. These folks are crazy. I can't even see. McManus says, what's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. You missed a lot, brother. Kiki Wafan says, this is a prime example of things in our society going towards another civil war. We need to stop this. All cops are not bad and not all black people are good. That's a fact too. I agree 1000%. You know, we need cops. Our communities are too dangerous. Our communities are too just crazy out there. Mr. T is in the building. Natalie said to stop people who wanted to be free. Of course, I don't have no context for that. I'm just popping into that, so I apologize for that. I wasn't able to see you guys your texts and then respond in real time. Unfortunately, my phone wasn't showing me. Kiki said America was built on racism, strategic eyes. I'm not sure if that will ever be completely eradicated. See, this is the thing. Racism can never be eradicated because it's a human construct. People always want to feel better than other people. I'm sorry, lifting something heavy up. People, you know, like if you're poor and you're struggling and you're poor, you're struggling, you made bad choices in your life, it's always easy to put other people down and put yourself up. And that's where racism comes into play. It's easy to be racist because you now you feel better than somebody. It's us versus them. You understand what I'm saying? And you'll never eradicate it, but what you can do is you can make it powerless. What you can do is you can make racist on the fringe. You can take the power away from a racist. You can say, well, you can't, you can feel however you want to feel, but you can't stop me from getting a job. You can't stop me from getting an education. You can't stop me from participating in this democracy. And I think that a lot of people don't realize is that we're actually moving toward that goal much faster than we'd like to appreciate. And people don't realize, as I've said to you guys multiple times before, that there are other forms of isms that exist in the world. And those isms, one of those isms is classism. People don't seem to understand that we are moving toward a post-racial society. We're moving towards it. The problem is, it's just being replaced by something else. It's literally just being replaced by something else. Let's see what else is in the comment section. Natalie Sneed says, I love you. Natalie Sneed is a lady. She changed her name. So you want to let us know who you really are now, A Lady. But A Lady has something important to say. Let's say A Lady says, I love you, Strategic, but you don't know the generational war between descendants of slaves and the police as your people just got here. All right, I get it. Well, first I'm not going to say I get it because maybe you're right. But my issue, Miss Sneed, aka A Lady, is that you need police. So I understand that there is how should I say, there's a lot of resentment towards police. Rightfully so. I mean, you just go on YouTube, type in the civil rights movement, and you can see police officers, beating up black people, beating up women, just being a menace to society. And I'm sorry, I'm multitasking right now, so that's why my words are a little labored, because I'm doing something else as well. But we have to acknowledge that we need police. Like, you got a clunky old car, right? You got a clunky old car. What do? Do you throw the car away? Or do you go fix it? If you have a clunky old car that you need to get to work and you don't have any other means of getting to work and you can't afford a new car, what is the solution? I'm sorry. Do you fix the car or do you throw it away? Policing is a clunky old car. It's a clunky old car that we've been trying to fix for a little. Well, we actually haven't been trying to fix it for a while, but we just now in the last decade have really taken it seriously and started to try and fix it. What do we do with it? Sorry. What are we gonna do with it? So my whole point is, we need to acknowledge that we need policing, and then we need to change it for the better instead of demonizing individual officers and endangering their lives. Because policing is not the same that it used to be back in the 60s. Policing is much more diverse now. And your brothers and your sisters and your cousins and your friends, they're now police officers. And when people go crazy and want to take officers' lives, a lot of the time it's the minority officers that get killed. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Look at the last few police assassination situations, and you will clearly see that the majority of the victims were African Americans and Latinos. So when these revolutionaries are calling to action, when they're calling to action, when they're saying, oh, FTP and all this stuff, and we need to, stop the cops and screw them, their lives don't matter, their wives don't matter, their kids don't matter, their daughters don't matter, like this lady was saying in her podcast, who dies? Who dies? Most of the time. Now check this out. We can even go one deeper. Who died in this situation from Jessica Beauvais? A dude from Greece. Not even a historical Caucasian person. A person from Greece who is an immigrant here, who did not partake in the generational enslavement, the generational bigotry of this country. An immigrant Greek individual is the one who died. I don't know. Natalie says, exactly, my people have been hurt, terrorized, murdered for generations by the police. People are tired of being born a crime. And I just don't see it like that, man. I mean, but maybe that's just me. And I know there's like generational wounds that are passed down. But police aren't hunting black folks like that anymore. It's just not happening. We go to roll call and they're not like, yo, go out there and get me some black folks. They're not saying go out there and get anybody. They just say, yo, go pick up those calls and do what you got to do. One of the issues is that when you live in impoverished, low-income communities, what do? You use 911 more. If anything, African Americans are inviting the police into their lives more than anyone else. So because our communities are filled with violence, we're actually using police service more than anybody else and then inviting them into our community to solve our problems. Therefore, resulting in situations where things can go bad more often than other demographics. It's really interesting stuff here. Like when I was going through the academy, they're talking about different demographics. They're like, when you go into this type of community, let's say we use the Asian community as an example, they were teaching us Asian communities, due to their culture and their distrust for police, due to the actions of police in their cultures, they are less willing to report crime to you. They're more likely to handle it themselves within their community. So look at a culture of people, right, who have the same feeling about police as an African American culture. Because in their country, the police are corrupt, man, and they'll send you to a camp. They won't just write you a ticket or smack you up your head, which is wrong and if it's unjust. They will literally take you from your family and send you to a work camp for 15 years on trumped up charges. Those individuals don't call the police. So if we feel like the police are hunting us, why do we call the police? Why don't we handle these things ourselves? I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying, like, I don't see what people are saying they see, where every single day cops are going out there hunting people down, when African Americans deal with the police more than anybody else, have millions of interactions with the police every single day, and we don't see millions of cases where they're losing their lives. But I don't know. Natalie's blowing up the comment section, but it's all good. I love it. Please keep participating. So Kiki says 100, we are all connected. That's why none of this makes sense. Natalie says you have stepped into a war and you are on the other side. Sadly, that's the problem. Why is it a war? And why do you have to pick a side? Why can't there be nuance? What's the war? We're gonna war against 40 million people are gonna war against 250 million people? Who's gonna win that war? Who's gonna win that war? If you know who people say the black community is divided, you know who's really divided? Caucasian community is divided. Because if Caucasian people in America all voted as a block, we would never get anything done. We'd never get a bill passed for us. We'll never get police reform. We'll get nothing done because we're minorities for a reason. The word minority has a meaning. It means small. It means in a population, you are the smaller part of that population. And in a democracy or republic stylized as a democracy, that matters. That means you have less voting power. So how do you go to war in a country where there's 40 million of you, primarily located on the coasts and in the south? Everywhere else in the country, you'd be hard pressed to see a black person. I've traveled this country. Some of you too. I'm not going to say it like y'all haven't. I've traveled this country. I've been to places in America where there's big cities with no black people. There are whole states with no black people. Vermont. A whole state with not one black person in it. All right, I'm exaggerating. Of course, there's one black person. How do you fight a war when you're a minority? You don't. You have to be nuanced. You have to be smart. You have to use the system to your benefit. And when you talk that militant talk, you're talking a talk that gets people hurt. That gets Wing Jin Lu and Ramos shot in their head, both minorities, for the sins of other people. There is no war here. There's no war. When you see all those protests, that's not thousands of people. That's just hundreds and dozens. Most people staying home. Most of your combatants are staying home. There's no war. But it makes the news because one person set fire to a building. Because 30 people went into a store and stole something. But I was there. A lot of y'all weren't there. I was out there. There wasn't a million people, tens of thousands of people running out there marching. No. No. We put those numbers up already. You can see what that looked like. Go on YouTube, type in Million Man March. You can see what those numbers look like. Those numbers ain't been out there like that. And when you seen the numbers, the majority of them were not black people. The majority of them were Caucasian Americans out there marching under the BLM flag. We can't even put more numbers up than our supporters. Our supporters is carrying the movement. So where's the war? Where's the war? The war is against white folks? But we got white folks fighting against white folks because there ain't even no black people showing up for the war. It's all a myth, man. And it's dividing us because what we need to do is we need to be together because it's class warfare, not race warfare. You intelligent people are buying into the lies of mass media that black people are being hunted. They're not being hunted. Middle class and poor people are being hunted by the rich. That's the fucking war. But you guys want to look at this glamorous bullshit they put on MSN, telling you can't walk out your house. Some of you making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you think you being put down by the white man? I'm sitting out my rental property. I go over the fucking projects and I got a fucking building. Who stopped me from doing that? Who stopped me from doing that? The only thing that stopped you is your own goddamn mind. What, 15 years ago I was in a fucking projects. Stepping over crackheads. And now I own a fucking building and there's people living here off of my dime. People with a roof in their head over me. There's nothing that can stop you in this country from making it. It's all a freaking myth. The only thing that will stop you is economics. Economics. That's what will stop you. That's what will stop you. There's no race war out here. Yeah, it existed. There's a time when it existed. It was before a lot of you guys' time. We fought that battle and we won. All we need to do now is the final touches. We need to refine it. We need to carve out the details on the sculpture. But we so late. We still fighting that war that people have moved on. The powers that be don't care about race no more. They don't give a damn about that. They care about money. Money. Only unintelligent hillbillies care about race. A CEO don't give a damn about race. Half of these dudes got black wives. That's a new trend. Half of them got mixed kids. They don't care about that. They care about money. I'm sorry I got emotional, but it's like, come on, guys. Let's open our eyes here. Stop it. Jeannie G says, hello, all. What's up? Kiki says, we're all humans and trying to live to make this world a better society. Sneeze said, you are grieving. I understand that. I hear you, but I think it's deeper than that. What is what is. I appreciate it, though. Appreciate it. Matterpiece says, I'm sorry. Oh, it's fucking bug got in here. Ugh. I hate bugs. Get out of here, you bug. I gotta kill that bug, man. Get out. Get out of here. Alright, anyway. I'm sorry. Matterpiece says, I'm sorry if you don't want to release body cam footage. That means you're hiding something. I agree, man. Like, that's weird. Well, I mean, I'm not telling you what I told you guys about the Andrew Brown situation to insinuate that everything is good and we got an excuse now. We need to stop asking questions. No, I'm simply telling you what the DA says and what the family says, but we all need to see what's going on. I'm not taking any sides. I don't like the way this Andrew Brown situation is being handled. So we will all wait together and see what happens. Marcus No Heroes in the building. What up, Mark? Natalie said, oh, my fault. She's talking to Kiki. Sorry. Philip Brett said, I need to sign off on a minute changing train, so need to pay attention not to get into the wrong train. Good. Do your thing, Philip. Appreciate you coming through, man. Shawnee says Candace Owens for president. Hell fucking no. Jason Blackie's in the building. Jason Blackie! Jason Blackie's in the building. What up, Jason Blackie? What's happening, bro? You don't always agree with me, but I appreciate your support, man. And thank you so much for coming through. I think you said I'm a bootlicker after that. That's cool. But I appreciate you watching my shows. Like I said, we're not here to agree with each other all the time. We have different opinions, different lives. We come from different places. My experience is going to be different than your experience. How do you expect me to have the same mindset that you have if I don't come from your experience? If I experience the things you experience and see things through your eyes. And that's we're not here to agree. Yeah, I got the megaphone, but I'm also going to read out what you have to say as well. And if you want to come on the show, and I'm not even talking to Jason Blackie right now, I'm talking about to anybody. If you want to come on the show and debate me, we can debate. You know, I invite people on the show all the time. In fact, I wish more of you would want to come on the show and make the show much more interesting. But certainly, thanks for coming through, Jason Blackie. Kiki Ofaz says, she's talking to somebody else. Philip Brett is strategic, very true about racism. If you look at Europe, the country with the least poverty, Luxembourg happens to be the least racist. Yeah. Natalie says, I don't have to Google it. I have cop blood in me because of, okay. I'd say I can't read that out. Okay, so what Natalie's saying, obviously I can't read it out. She also spelled it out, which I appreciate that. Is she's saying she has cop blood inside of her because of the slavery. So I guess she means to say Caucasian, but she's making Caucasian synonymous with cop. And if I'm wrong, just let me know, Natalie. But she's saying because of slavery and the things that happened, the taking advantage of human bodies, which is a big part of slavery that nobody talks about. She has that in her blood, and I hear you. What else we got going on? Natalie's out of here. She said, okay, I'm done. Keep being safe out there. She gone. Jason Black said, we don't need police. However, we need a police-like force in our communities. Well, expand on that. People say these things like, so what do you mean by that? You know, like, let's start, just like when I started this video, I said that although I am appalled at the actions of Jessica Beauvais, I listened to her 2-hour podcast and she had some really good ideas. So just like I could say, yo, you did a horrible thing and you're a horrible person for what you've done, that doesn't mean that every single thing that you ever did in your life was bad. So expand on that. Why do we live in these platitudes like, well, we don't need police, however, we need a police-like force? All right, Jason, What do you mean by that? If you're going to make that statement, what can you back it up? Why don't we need police? And what would that police-like force do? What would be their purpose? We're critical thinkers here. So now let's critical think. Back up what you say. And that's all I ask for from people. I'm skipping over comments because you guys aren't talking to me, you're talking to each other. Jason Black said, at the end of the day, the U.S. police has been devastating to the black community and has rarely paid for any crimes in the past and rarely paid for these crimes. You're wrong, Jason. Your government has been devastating to the black community. Your president of the United States signed in the crime bill that sent black people to jail. The crime bill that police officers took their orders from to lock up your fathers and your uncles and your brothers. Your government and your president of the United States right now signed in the war on drugs that did the same thing. They're all connected. You cannot separate them. And for you to make change, you have to acknowledge that that connection exists. Erica Pierce says, but isn't having a police-like force the same thing as having police? They still have to follow a set of rules and protocols. I agree with you. Thank you, Erica Pierre. This is what I love. Intelligent debate and conversation. Kiki said, if I see something wrong or unjust, I will stand up, but I will only blame those who committed the offense. And I agree. You can't hate everybody for one person's sin. It is what it is. Natty says it's both. Marcus No Hill says, now that deserves a like. I appreciate you. Natalie says, your rants don't intimidate me, Mr. Cow. I ain't trying to intimidate you. I'm trying to debate you, girl. That's crazy. I'm super late too, because that was sent like 10:20 and we're at 10:28. But I'm going through all the comments and trying to show you guys love. Matapi says, that's crazy because I was going to do a rant about this morning, but it was cold to hold the phone. Yeah, you must be in the northeast or something. It's kind of hot up here. I don't know. Weather's just crazy out there. Let's see what else we got going on. Angro Vic says she wants some orange blast drink. What is that? Some good stuff or something? Like, what's that? Some morning fake orange juice or something? Jason Blackie says I live in a fairy tale. Okay. You know, once again, Jason, that's your opinion. Or maybe he's not even talking to me. I don't know. But if he is talking to me, you have your own experiences. We don't raise our children the same. We don't talk the same. We don't act the same. And not saying for positive or negative. We don't eat the same food. You have your own experience. You cannot put your experience on me. You can't put your cultural experience on me. I have a different culture than you. You cannot say that your life experience is the same as mine. I grew up in the hood, but I grew up in the hood in Manhattan. Somebody who grew up in the hood in Brooklyn grew up in a totally different hood than me. My hood was bad than me. Somebody who grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, their hood is worse than mine. So you can't put your sensibilities on somebody else. You have to find common ground. And Blackie says, I didn't call you a bootleg. I appreciate that, Blackie. Thanks. But we have to find common ground. And when I respond to these comments, sometimes y'all might not even be talking to me, so I apologize. Just say, hey, I wasn't talking to you strategic, and I'll say I'm sorry. But, you know, it makes the show interesting when I read your comments anyway, because you guys are awesome. So, hey, it is what it is. We have to find common ground. That's what we have to do. That's the solution. The solution is finding common ground. Gigi says, Oz, it's not to say that this is a racial war. It's a bias that allows police to view black people as not as a people. I grew up during the civil rights movement. There is still a lot to be done. And I agree. There is still a lot to be done. And I agree with everything you said. It's just that when people use gaslighting, inflammatory language like race war, that's when I got to push back. I got to push back because you don't have to gaslight in order to have a good point. We don't have to go to the extreme to talk about what's obvious to everybody else. Not My Real Name says, you let the community police itself, you end up with fools like George Zimmerman. True. True. Very, very true. Natty says, Jason Strategic doesn't know the history. He's a good dude, though. I think I do know my history. I think I do know. I think I study history. I'm a big student in history. But what I'm trying to do is, when can we get past it? Are we just going to keep living in the history, Natalie? Or are we going to start finding a way to move forward? At some point, we have to move forward. At some point, we have to say, I acknowledge the past, but how do we move towards a better tomorrow? And speaking divisively does not move us to that goalpost, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. And once again, I may be wrong. Natalie, you may be right. Jason, you may be right. I may be wrong. I'm just one person with one point of view. That's it. Jeannie G said implicit bias is everywhere. Yes, everybody suffers from implicit bias, including black people. That's a fact. More deadly in our community. I agree. And the reason why implicit bias is more deadly in the black community is because of media. Because media portrays black people as the enemy, as dangerous. Jason Black says, my brother, it's from the top down, but we are talking about police. And a police-like force should look like the community. But you just said the solution. You just said what I've been saying all this time, Jason. You said it's from the top down, but we talking about the police. But why? You just said the solution. We know the solution. Jason Blackie figured it out, but still forget about it. Let's just talk about the police. No. We know where the change needs to come from. Let's go at that change. Let's attack the people who are the ones who are the real reason for this suffering. They did it. Let's get them. Let's get them. It's from the top down. Let's get the top. Because once we change the top, everything changes. It's a domino effect. We're fighting an uphill war when we could just march to the top of the hill and just roll down. It doesn't make sense to me. Mad Priest says Jersey's cold as hell, 39 degrees. Jason Black said he knows I'm a good dude. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you. As strategic, it's an inside joke. Agro will have to come on Discord and explain Orange Blast. I bet. Bring the Pascal jokes over here. Let's see what's going on. And now I finally caught up. The final, well, not the final, but the most recent message is Jason Blackie saying police have rarely paid for their crimes. I know the government has two, hence my why reparations are needed. But we are talking about police. Look at Rodney King. That was not long ago. And Matapuri says, preach, brother. When you have these debates, guys, and I'm going to start driving soon, so let me just put my seatbelt on. When you have these debates about topics like this, the issue is that nobody is wrong. We got Black Lady Jane from Cali. What up? The issue is that nobody is wrong. This dude locks me in. He sees me backing up, and he locks me in. What a douchey. The problem is nobody is wrong. Nobody's wrong. So I'm going to sound a little distant right now. Let me just back out of this situation. Let me get out of the driveway and then get on the road, and then I'll start telling you guys my opinion. So I apologize for the delay. Come on, no, move. What the hell? Douchebag. Sorry. You guys hear my road rage. Strategic has road rage, ladies and gentlemen. All right, there we go. All right, I'm good. Now we're rocking and rolling. Nobody's wrong. Jason Blackie's not wrong. Lady A's not wrong. Nobody's wrong. You got to respect the generational suffering that occurred. You have to respect the experiences that people have had. I've had bad experiences too. I had a cop put a gun to my head. You think I ever forgot that? No. You have to respect the fact that if you're an African American who has spent generations in America, you grew up with your loved ones telling you their terrible experiences. This generational pain, you grew up hearing that. You have to respect all of those different factors when you're talking about this topic. And that's why it's not easy for people to say, oh, things are getting better. Because there's a collective pain that exists for centuries. And 20 years of police reform is not going to make that pain go away. And I acknowledge that. But guess what, guys? When you're in a situation, you can't always see that things are bad for you, or things are good, or things are getting better. It takes somebody who's from outside of that situation to sometimes tell you what's going on. It's like you in an abusive relationship. You may think, oh, it's not that bad. He or she loves me at the end of the day. Oh, we're going to work it out. It takes that family member or that loved one to say, no, this is really bad. You need to get out while you're still alive. Or maybe you got a good job and all you do is complain, this job is so annoying, it's so boring. And maybe it takes somebody who doesn't have a job to say, yo, you know what, you complain about your job a lot. I get it. It's your right to complain about it, but at least you're lucky you have a job. I don't have a job. I'm unemployed. I can't feed myself. I can't even afford my own place. And that kind of puts you into perspective, like, oh, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those situations. I wasn't born in America. I grew up in America. I spent my formative years in America. But my culture is not from America. My mother, my father, they're not from America. My grandparents, not from America. So when I look at this, I look at it from the perspective of somebody who has lived in America all their life. All right, I almost died. I almost died because this fucking cab right here want to rush. Anyway, from somebody who live in this perspective, who knows America, but at the same time is not entrenched in the mindset and the programming that America has taken decades to program people with, which is this victim mentality, programming people that black people are bad. Black people commit nothing but crime. Black people can't do nothing, can't contribute to this country. We can't do nothing. We're worthless, even though when you look through history, most of the major advances had a black hand in it. Even heart surgery. They say Thomas Edison created the light bulb. Yeah, he did. But it's a black man who created the filament that made the light bulb last more than a week. The same filament that's been in light bulbs ever since. And now the narrative is being twisted. The narrative is being twisted that black people are nothing but victims. That the government is trying to kill us. That police is out there hunting us down. Yet each one of you who happen to be black, you leave your house every single day and go engage in commerce without any issues. Every single one of you every day encounter police officers and they don't hurt you. Each one of you get pulled over. The cop comes over. He tells you was doing something. You're pissed off because you know you got to pay $100 in change and a fine. But you sit there, you give him your ID, and you say, give me the ticket. And you go about your business, and you don't die. Every single day that happens. But yet, we listen to this narrative that just by being black, you're a target. And thanks, kid. Somebody let me through. I want to talk about something else. And listen, I'm ranting and raving, but I'm driving, so this is the perfect time to have this conversation. And I appreciate you guys for responding back, pushing back too. Not just letting me say whatever hell I want. You guys are in there saying, yo, I agree with you, I disagree with you. But this is the last topic I want to talk about. It's the last topic I want to talk about. Why is it okay to resist arrest in our community? If we look at, and listen, I'm conflicted with this topic here. The reason why I'm conflicted with this topic, and this is going to make some of you guys upset, or maybe it won't. I don't know. Who am I to speculate how you're going to feel about this topic? I'm conflicted with this topic of resisting arrest because Natalie, I hate you. She said I'm ranting like a madman. The reason why I'm conflicted about this topic is because I'm not one of those people that subscribe to the opinion that if you resist arrest that somehow you deserve to die. I think that's ignorant. I think it's disgusting. All right, let me just get on this highway. It's jam-packed with traffic, but it is what it is. I think it's disgusting. I think it's ignorant. We look at the Dante Wright situation. Dante Wright was shot. Maybe Dante Wright is not a good example because supposedly the officer did not intend to shoot him, but she shot him because she chose the wrong tool. But from what she says, her intention was to tase him. So maybe, I mean, it's unfortunate. She's going to go to jail, and rightfully so. But maybe that's not a good example. Let's give another example. What's another example? Jacob Blake. That's a good example. I'm back to Jacob Blake again. I swear to God, Jacob Blake. If I gave Jacob Blake $1 for every time this dude comes out of my lips, his name, he'd be rich, right? He'd be richer than he already is because he's already rich. All right. If Jacob Blake did not resist arrest, he would not have gotten shot. We'll use Dante Wright. If Dante Wright did not choose to run from the police for the second time, the first time he brandished a gun, and I'm not besmirching this guy, we're talking about this, all right? So we're talking about why he ran from the police. We're not using his record as a weapon against him. We're talking about why he ran from the police. It's very relevant to the topic at hand. The first time he had police contact, well, it wasn't the first time, but in relation to his death, he was pointing a gun at somebody. And that person said, yo, listen, this guy, he has a gun and he's threatening people with it. He's driving around in this type of car. The police pulled the car over. They saw him, he fit the description. The police went to place him under arrest and he ran and he got away. The police then searched the car and found the gun. The occupants of the car sold him out and says that was his gun, right? The time that he died, the police pulled him over the registration because the registration is his mother's name, so they didn't even know he was in there. He presented his ID to the officers. They ran him and saw that he had a warrant for his arrest in relation to the gun. He then said to himself, I'm going to run again because I got away last time. If he didn't run, this stupid chick who should be ashamed of herself as a police officer would not have pulled the wrong tool and shot him. Why is it okay? Hold on. I'm trying to... okay, it doesn't matter which way I go. All right. Why is it okay for us to resist arrest? If you look at a lot of these cases, and if you guys don't agree with me, I want you to debate me inside of the chat, or I want you to come on the show and let's talk about this. In most of these cases where our folks are killed, it was because they were resisting arrest. So while we're at marching, while we're at demanding to be treated with respect and dignity, all noble things, why aren't we at the same time trying to educate ourselves not to put ourselves in these positions where we get killed unjustly in many instances, but we're engaging in conduct that give these corrupt officers who kill us the opportunity to make those decisions? Why is that? And lastly, and I'm going to read in the comment sections because I said a lot, and a lot of it's controversial. Lastly, and I want to get your opinion on this, why is it the police, well, not the police coverage, but why is it the media coverage focuses on the criminals who get shot, but they don't focus on the innocent black folk who get killed for doing nothing? Why aren't we talking about Andre Hill as much as we're talking about Dante Wright? Why aren't we talking about Ahmaud Arbery as much as we talk about these other folks? I don't understand it. It's very confusing for me. So let's go to the comment section. Let's talk about it. See what you guys got to say about this. And I appreciate you guys sticking around. It's been a while. It's an hour and 20 minutes. You guys have been sticking around for a long time, and it is very much appreciated. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit more so I can get context for what you're saying. So Natalie says fair flight reaction. All right. Okay. Marcus Mahira says fight or flight. LOL. Okay. Kiki says it's not okay to resist arrest, but you shouldn't lose your life over it. And I agree. But maybe it's my police training and the fact that I've been an investigator my entire adult life until now. I'm just a beat cop now, or community officer. I like to look at what leads up to things. I don't look at things in a vacuum. So although I agree with you, I still want to ask that question and acknowledge what actions led up to the situation at hand. But yes, I 100% agree with you. Jason Blackie says resisting arrest might just be natural to some. I might be wrong, but a police officer's duty is to deal with non-compliance. And I agree with you too. I agree with you 1,000%. And I make no excuses for the officers that just one-time kill people for resisting arrest. But I'm just curious as to why there's almost like a culture of resisting arrest that seems to persist in the community. Jason Blackie says, people don't normally do the right things under stress. That's a good point. HR 40B1, I don't know what that is. I think, is it the qualified immunity thing? Let me know what exactly that is in the comment section, Natalie. Kiki Ofas, it also not only okay to drive without a proper tags or insurance or without license, but no one should die for it. I agree. That's why we have the justice system. And I gotta say, I used Dante Wright as an example, but like I told you guys, it's a bad example because Dante Wright is just a tragedy through and through, and that officer needs to be held accountable for what she did. It may have been the biggest mistake of her life, but it was a mistake she did not have the right to make. And we dissected her actions in this video, in this show rather, and she had the gun in her hand for at minimum 5 seconds. That's an eternity in a critical situation. At least 5 seconds she had that gun in her hand. You couldn't tell me those black sights, you didn't recognize that as your service weapon? Unbelievable. I believe it was an accident. I just think that she is so negligent that it's unforgivable. She gotta go to jail. Jason Blackie says people are here. I think I can't say that word that you said. It says people are blank to deal with non-compliance. Resisting arrest is one of those. Maybe you say, oh, you said police are, maybe you say, oh, hired. Okay, police are hired to deal with non-compliance. Okay, cool. Yeah. This is a problem. We like to think of police as superheroes that could do anything. That's not true. We have limited tools to deal with infinite amount of possibilities. Now, once again, I'm not saying this to excuse some of these instances that we've observed of police killing black people or unarmed people or whatever. But what I'm saying is, at one point we're saying, screw the police are worthless. And then at the next point we're saying, well, they're trained to deal with it. No, they're not. All right, there's a lot that needs to change, and one of that is training. Most police departments do either 3 or 6 months academies. And it's impossible to deal with all types of compliance under stress when you're in a classroom. You got an instructor saying, I got a gun. Are you going to feel the same stress and fear that you're going to feel when you have somebody who really has a gun looking at you? Of course not. Of course not. So you can only train but for so much, and then you're tested with the ultimate test out of nowhere. And guess what? Sometimes you're not going to make the best choice. So this lady went through her whole career without probably having a situation like she had with Dante Wright. And then she was tested and she failed. We don't have to make excuses for her. She's gonna pay, but we could deal with reality as well. Black Lady Jane says, do you think she was drunk? Are you talking about the female officer who shot Dante Wright? I don't know. I don't know. If that's who you're talking about, I have no idea. I mean, seriously. I didn't really hear her talking much. Oh my God, I shot him! You can't really tell somebody drunk from saying that. But you know, I don't know. Not My Real Name said, what about in a mostly, let me make this turn and then I'll see what you guys said. What about in a mostly white neighborhood? People still call the police the second they see a black person walking past. They call police for black kids selling candy, but not white Girl Scouts. Once again, this is anecdotal. This is not data. Anecdotal is what you see with your own eyes. It's what you hear about every once in a while. It's not a scientific survey that proves that that exists. So, I police a predominantly white community. I see what calls are coming over. It's still anecdotal because I'm not there 24 hours a day, but white folks aren't calling the police for black people. They're not saying, hey, there's a black guy outside of my building. Can you send the cops, please? No, they're not. They're not. It's not happening. They're calling cops on each other. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my husband's beating me. Oh, there's a meth head outside my building, and most of the time, it's a Caucasian person who's a meth head. Meth is not really a drug that many African Americans use. You know? So that is anecdotal. But a lot of that is happening out here. We're going off of what we feel and what we hear rather than data driven. But I appreciate your comment though. I appreciate you immensely. Jason Blackie says, that's mainstream media who does not talk about it. They go for what sells, their agenda. Indeed true, Blackie. But there's a lot of people who do not understand what you're saying, and therefore they believe what mainstream media is telling them to believe. And that is why it's so dangerous to follow what the mainstream media is telling you. Natalie says, strategic, those are two different fights. Believe me, black folks are fighting amongst themselves every day. You should know that. Absolutely. We're fighting amongst ourselves. We're dying amongst ourselves. But what you hear about is the fight against police more. We're not chewing gum and walking at the same time. We're not saying these are the reforms we want from the police, and these are the reforms we demand from each other. And to me that's sad. Natalie says, hey team, I'm driving, trying to talk too tight on my way to work. You're doing the same thing I'm doing, Natalie. If you out of here, Natalie, thanks for coming by. Thanks for keeping the comments interesting and sharing. I appreciate you immensely. Thank you so much. We like Discord on here. That's why I love the name of our Discord. I love the fact that we have a Discord, because what we're doing here is Discord. Jason Blackie says, damn, my Caribbean brethren, HR 40 is a study for reparations. Oh, okay. I'm not really a reparations guy, Jason. I'm not really into reparations because I don't want to check. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like if we get reparations, then we can't talk about these topics anymore. They're going to say, well, we paid you, shut up. And the type of reparations that I want are reparations that we'll never get. I want long-term reparations. I want reparations that will ensure that African-American children get free college for the next 3 generations. I want reparations that ensures that African-American and low-income communities get proper funding for their schools. Reparations that we get access to, just like how you got VA home loans where veterans get 0% down on their houses. I want a African-American loan where African-Americans get 0 down on mortgages. Maybe even get 0 down on a second home, so that we could build generational wealth by getting investment properties. Those are the type of reparations I want. And those type of reparations we won't get. So I don't want reparations because I don't want no check. I want something long-term that's going to generationally build black people out of poverty and out of the misery that we currently are living in. Both contrived and both manufactured by ourselves. Nene's in the building. What up, Nene? Jason Blackie says, if everyone was following the law, we wouldn't need police. So the police are for non-compliance. And if you understand human nature, Blackie, everybody will never follow the law. But once again, that's why I love the life that the Lord gave me. Because I've worked in such interesting places and I lived in interesting places. When you've worked in a prison and you stared evil in its face, you will not for one moment think that the utopia that people talk about is possible. It's not possible. Because we make monsters and monsters are also born. Black lady Jane says she believes that the female cop who shot Dante Wright was intoxicated. And you know what? There's a lot of officers that hit the sauce for whatever reasons, stressed out, families in shambles. It's a very difficult job. I can't say that you're wrong. Can't say that you're wrong, Blackie. Black lady, sorry. Jason Blackie says, police are for people like you. Keep your eyes on the road. I know, right? Terrible, but I'm stuck in traffic, so I'm not even going anywhere. But at least I'm not drunk and high. McManus says, I love how passionate you are. I try. Jason Blackie says, you want reparations. It just doesn't have to be outright check. Give our community an advantage for a time, taxes, housing stuff, college, such as exactly. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for, Jason. But nobody's talking about that, Jason. That's why I say I'm not for reparations, because nobody's talking about that. People are talking about a check. I'm talking about generations. I'm talking about our kids' kid, and then their kids. 3 generations. So that by the time it gets to that 3rd generation, all they know is college graduate, homeowners, small business owners. Programs to give low interest loans to black folks who want to start businesses. By the time we get there, there's generations of people. Not, oh, my dad used to live in the hood, but he made it out, and now I'm the next in line. No. I want whole generations. I want generations to say, I don't know what it's like to be poor. I don't know what it's like to not have opportunity. That's what I'm looking for. I want the kid's kid to not even know or even remember what it's like to live the life that so many African Americans live to this day. And it's possible. We can do that. We can definitely do that. It's possible. But there has to be a will. Natalie says, Jason, because he's not getting any reparations, we found a lot of that with these 1st and 2nd generation immigrants. I didn't even say that. I didn't even say that. I didn't even say it's because I said the reparations I'm asking for black folks that I may not get, I'm saying it should be long term. But she assumes that I don't want any reparations because I'm an immigrant. I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. Well, if you think that giving African Americans a check will help them, okay. It's your fight. But at the same time, you can't alienate me because I'm a 1st generation or 2nd generation, whatever you call it, immigrant. You can't alienate me and ask me to fight for you. So that's the thing. I want you to come along for the fight, but when I get a chance, I'm gonna separate you. You're not really down with us. Your granddaddy not from Alabama. Your great grandmother ain't from the plantation in Mississippi. So you don't really understand us. You're not really a part of this fight. Even though when I was 15 years old and I went to the horse and carriage buggies in Central Park and I asked the guy for a ride and he looked at me and said, I don't give ride to N-words. What are you gonna ride me, N-word? Get out of here, you N-word. He didn't know I was Caribbean when he said that. He didn't know. He didn't know. When I was getting stopped and frisked in Harlem a dozen times, those cops didn't know I was Caribbean. They didn't care. When I'm hanging with my homeboys in the staircase, cracking jokes, and I feel something cold on the back of my head. Like, why my head so cold? And it nudged me, and I turn around, and it's an NYPD cop with a gun in the back of my head saying, what y'all doing here? What y'all doing in the staircase? He didn't care that I was Caribbean American. But I'm not picking on a lady. I see this a lot. You're not a part of this struggle. Cause you from the islands. You're not from, you African, or you from the islands. You're not part, or you from Europe, you're European black. You're not part of this struggle. You don't understand what we going through. When it doesn't matter where you from, racism don't care. If you got the skin, you gonna pay. But it is what it is. Natalie says, reparations is payment for a debt owed for hundreds of years of free labor. This country became the greatest nation on earth on the backs of black people. Yep, that's exactly what reparations is. You have to go back to Haiti or wherever you came from to get your reparations strategic. I'm not from Haiti, and that's racist to assume I'm from Haiti. I'm not from Haiti. I have no Haitian in me. But you know, that's a inflammatory statement there. It is what it is. I mean, you gotta call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can't say I want to fight in racism and injustice and segregation and all that stuff, and then say the same thing. Whether you're joking or not, I don't see no LOLs there. I'm not offended. I'm just saying these are people. White folks are on this post, whether you care about it or not. I have a very large white fan base, or viewer base. I hate saying fans. Nobody's my fan. You guys don't worship me. You guys debate me, which is what I love. Which is what we're doing right now. They're gonna listen to that and they're gonna say, and they're gonna read. They're gonna say, "See, you see." They want me to feel guilt and to give to them. They can't even be together. They talking about us separating them, and they separate each other. It is what it is. McManus says, good positive news does not get eyeballs. That's why, unfortunately, it's sad. Okay, I hear you. Irene Wood is in the building. What up, Irene? Natalie says 40 acres and a mule, 40 acres and a mule. Do you know what that is? I do know what that is. A-Lady is what was promised and what was not given. For some reason, A-Lady does not think that I know anything about history. A-Lady thinks I came to America when I was 15 years old, not when I was 4 years old. A-Lady does not think that I was not living in the hood my whole damn life. That I was living in the hood till I was in my 20s. In a real freaking hood. During a crack epidemic. I guess because I'm from the Caribbean, I have no hood card. It is what it is. Kiki said, don't come for strategic, homie. And Natalie says, I'm coming for the truth. And anybody that's getting in the way of it, I hear you. We going to war. Well, maybe you need to come back on the show, A-Lady. The first interview I did with A-Lady, a.k.a. Natalie Sneed, she acting like a Sneed, was a very complimentary interview. Maybe the next time she come on the show, we need to have a real debate. We need to have a real debate. I challenge you, A-Lady. You want to debate me? Let's debate. Let's do it. Kiki says check versus zero down mortgage. I'll take the latter. Of course. Nene says I'm not even black, but some kind of reparations would lift up my people in Detroit. It would be beautiful. I think reparations will lift up a lot of people. Then you gotta have all these, these different races. Like, why am I paying for this? I'm an American Indian. My people was, destroyed by, literally killed off, extinct by white colonizers. Why don't I get reparations? I'm a Latino American. The Americans went to war with half of my country and stole them and called them Texas and Arizona. Where's my reparation? People are gonna think like that. European Americans who don't have no ties to slave trade, they're going to say, well, why am I paying for this? I don't know. Should we care that they say that? I don't think so. I'm just telling you what people are going to say. Jacqueline X says, you're not black enough for the fight, strategic. I don't think so either. I don't think so. I think, you got to agree with everything that the BLM says and everything that SMBC says for you to be black enough. You can't ask questions to be down with this fight. Natalie said I need to Google HR 40. I didn't know the name, but I've done a lot of research on it already. But I will definitely Google it some more, and maybe we can have a debate on it. Aki says, black is black no matter where you come from, and that's why we can never come together. We're always dividing each other. I agree 1,000%. Now he says, well, all you do respect, Kiki. Well, all due respect, excuse me, Kiki. I am talking to my brother, and he needs to learn. He knows it. Okay. Natalie going in. No, I respect it. I love the debate. HR 40 is a mess. All right, we can have a debate on HR 40, and we can have a show on it. I would rather do a live on it than a pre-produced show because I want your input. But listen, we can take calls too. Even if I don't know how to do the actual call in where it's like fluid, I could just put, I got, text me numbers and Google Voice numbers and all that stuff. I could just put the phone on speakerphone and we can have the debate over the mic and just do it that way. But it's not something that I'm going to want to do as a pre-produced video. I want to hear your opinion, Nene, on it, and I want to hear your opinion, Natalie, on it. I want to have a good debate on it, so I'll do that. I'll do some research on it, and then we'll have a real debate. A-Lady says, I keep calling you A-Lady. You changed your name to Natalie. I'm sorry. No, you're not an ally. You need to step back and be cool and be quiet. But right now, you sound like white people saying black people just want to check, and that's not just a check. Google HR 40. All right, I got you. We'll take a look. We'll see what's good. We'll take a look. We'll definitely read up on it, and we can have a debate. And the reason why I'm kind of like slowing down is like my voice is starting to hurt. I've been talking for a while, and my voice is getting fatigued. Black Lady Jay says, well, I guess I'm not black enough. And Nene says she loves calling. See, this is the problem, and I don't understand why such intelligent people out there can't figure it out. I don't understand why they can't figure it out. It's like, I don't know if somebody just honked. I don't know who that is. All right, I don't know why intelligent people can't figure it out. You cannot divide people. You can't divide people. You cannot divide people and expect that they're going to understand where you're coming from. You cannot divide people. It's stupid. It's dumb. I don't know who that is. Oh, they honked me. It's a police car. But anyway, so you can't divide people. I'm sorry, I'm like focusing on the road. You cannot divide people and expect that, they're going to somehow want to be your friend or whatever. I think these guys are going to pull me over. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. See you guys later. Love you immensely. I appreciate the great debate. My voice hurts anyway, so it is what it is. Peace out to you. One. Strategic is out of here, bitches. Sorry. Peace.